I really wish that I didn't have to take an animal everywhere just to be able to be semi-functional. The attention that comes with it is very unfortunate, and honestly, I really hate it.
Abria Hensley takes her mini horse Flirty everywhere, whether it be the movies, grocery shopping, or even the doctor's office.
I was actually just seeing one of my specialists today, and without me prompting her, she commented that I wouldn't be alive without Flirty.
Flirty is Hensley's service mini horse. She suffers from a variety of ailments, including depression, severe anxiety, panic disorder, and PTSD. Walking around Nobby's in Bellevue, she says she could barely go anywhere before she got the mini horse 2 years ago.
So if I did go grocery shopping, I would end up, having to leave halfway through. Sometimes I couldn't even deal with going through checkout. I would just have to leave my cart in the aisle and go home.
To many people's surprise, mini horses that serve as service animals are perfectly legal. The American with Disabilities Act specifically allows them. Almost every business is required to let Flirty in with no documentation, and they can only ask Hensley 2 questions. Is the service animal required because of a disability? And what work or task has the animal been trained to perform? The task has to be a physical action. Hensley says Flirty does multiple things for her. Flirty will remind her to take her medication, give her stabilization when she gets disoriented around crowds, and even alert her when her anxiety builds up.
Horses are extremely in tune to emotions and to body language. Yes, thank you, I know. See, right now she's actually telling me that I'm a little bit anxious.
Now, Flirty does wear a vest to alert the public to not pet her and to give them both some space. But sometimes the public doesn't always listen. Some folks will still pet Flirty or yell at her for attention. Others react angrily towards Hensley and harass her.
I've even been threatened or cyberbullied. I had someone offer to buy me a gun so I could end my problems.
She says most businesses accommodate them, but has been kicked out twice so far. Hensley is now considering a lawsuit.
I was treated so poorly, and the management responses when I followed up were poor. They are going to be hearing from the Department of Justice, and I'm definitely going to be pursuing legal means as well.
Hensley believes she's the only one in the area that has a mini horse as a service animal. She hopes eventually the public just gets used to them.
We understand that our animals, especially if you have a service horse, is very eye-catching. But, we're just there to get our milk and go home.
In Bellevue, John Kipper, 3 News Now. In most Nebraska high schools, when you find girls in the wrestling room, they're either student managers, cheerleaders, or scorekeepers. But at West Point Beamer, they hit the mat.
I don't think a lot of girls see it as a girls' sport just because it's really physical and you're getting rough with other people, And I think they just mainly see it as guys because that's how it's been for so long.
That's changing fast. More than 100 girls across the state, including 22 at West Point alone, came out for wrestling this year.
I've always liked aggressive sports, actually.
The momentum is strong enough in Nebraska that girls wrestling could be its own sanctioned sport as soon as next year.
It'd be cool to know that I can make my own records, not under the guys. So it'd be awesome to have our own state and do our own thing and not have to be part of the guys.
The girls-only team was created 2 years ago at West Point Beamer, as coaches wanted to avoid girl versus boy matchups. So now the Lady Cadets travel to tournaments with the boys team, but they only wrestle a handful of girls from other schools.
It's a no-win scenario when a guy wrestles a girl. If you beat a girl, so what? If you get beat by a girl, you never live it down.
Every year the program grows, with Coach Maxwell telling the girls that the skills they learn on the mat can be used once they graduate and head to college.
They walk across the campus and somebody jumps them from behind, they know how to reverse them. And get the upper hand.
And now many think if girls wrestling does become a sanctioned sport, that girls, some who have never even wrestled before, will be interested in hitting the mat in more places than just West Point.
I think if you build it, they will come.
They need to see that there is a state, that we are going to sanction it for them to come.
You're able to wrestle girls. I think it would be a lot more comfortable for other girls and they would want to join.
And while a final decision will likely come in March, freshman Diana Cervantes is already thinking about making history.
I would actually like to place first in the first state.
In West Point, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
Looking at his own. Young beyond the arc. Antoine shaking and baking. Young inside. Jumper is good! At the buzzer! At the buzzer!
After 16 years of calling Creighton basketball, Scott Marr's voice is a familiar one in Omaha, but that voice was nearly silenced after what looked like a major stroke that left swelling in his brain.
We thought that this wasn't a recoverable process.
His family was told, get ready for the worst.
We all said our goodbyes before he was extubated because we weren't sure what to expect.
But then his daughter Preston got a call. Get to the hospital immediately.
I went in just to talk to him like we had been this whole time, and I said, "Hi, Dad," and he smiled at me. And I literally thought I was dreaming. It was the craziest moment ever.
Scott recovered. He was going to live.
From a medical standpoint, let's look at it that way. I mean, it was pretty freaking a miracle.
Turns out Scott didn't have a stroke at all. Instead, a condition called PRES, likely caused by high blood pressure. Now he's getting back to full health,
Bacon?
even cooking eggs as a part of his rehab to help his brain recover.
This man had a stroke. Now he can cook an egg.
It was such a surprise to his family that he got the name Miracle Man.
This whole thing has been a miracle from God. I did not die. I didn't have to die. I'm back here, and I hope to give people some comfort and hope that if they are in fact going through anything like that, that it's a safe place.
He was unconscious for around 2 days in mid-December. During that span, he had what some might call a near-death experience. In the dream, he says he saw his deceased dad walking along Dodge Street.
And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm looking at work." And he said, "Well, there's no work here. You better get your butt home."
Scott takes that as a directive. His time on Earth isn't over yet. And now that he's back in the real world, he still hasn't lost that sense of humor.
You guys and then the team all worked together as a team to save my life. And now here I am, and watch me get hit by a bus. I mean, you know what?